She only came to work, nothing more. A new face in a small-town restaurant, ready to earn her place. But within minutes, she noticed it, the way conversations stopped, the way eyes shifted toward one man in the corner. He was rich, untouchable, and proud of the fear he caused. People avoided him like a shadow you couldn't escape. Yet for her, that fear turned into something else, a burning refusal to stay silent. That night, her courage would draw a line no one had dared to cross before. But what happens when you challenge the man everyone else runs from? For Maya, the restaurant was supposed to be a fresh start. She'd moved to the small town only a week earlier, leaving behind the noise and chaos of the city for something quieter, safer. Every morning, she tied her apron, greeted strangers with a warm smile, and told herself this was where she'd finally breathe. The locals were polite but distant. Conversations often paused when she walked into a room, as if her very presence shifted the air. Still, she brushed it off. New places took time. Then she started noticing something else. A table in the far corner always seemed to be reserved, even when the place was empty. And when he came in, the mood shifted instantly. Waiters vanished into the kitchen. Laughter died. It was as if a storm had rolled through the front door. Maya didn't know his name yet. But she could feel it. This man carried a weight of arrogance and power that had everyone walking on eggshells. And soon, she would learn why, in a way that would test every ounce of strength she had. It was a Friday night, the busiest shift Maya had seen since she started. The clatter of plates, the hum of conversation, the smell of roasted chicken drifting through the air, it all felt normal. Until the door opened. He walked in like he owned not just the restaurant, but the entire street outside. Expensive suit, gold watch glinting under the warm lights, that cold smirk pulling at the corners of his mouth. Conversations died mid-sentence. The room tightened. Maya noticed the way the other waiters slipped into the kitchen, pretending to be busy with orders that didn't exist. Her manager's eyes darted toward her, then away, like he didn't want to get involved. The man sat at his usual table, tapping his fingers on the polished wood. "Coffee," he said without looking at her. She brought it over, placing it gently in front of him. That's when she heard it, quiet, but sharp enough to slice through the hum of the room. "Didn't think they hired your kind here." The words hung in the air like smoke. She froze for half a second, then forced herself to step back. Her chest tightened, but she swallowed the anger, telling herself to just finish the shift. But it didn't stop. Each time she passed, there was another jab. Comments about standards, about knowing her place. Little enough that no one could claim it was a direct insult, but loud enough that the nearby tables could hear. No one said a word. Not the manager. Not the other customers. The silence was worse than the comments. It told her this wasn't new. This was routine. Then came the final straw. As she placed the bill on his table, he leaned back, eyes scanning her from head to toe with a smirk that made her skin crawl. "You people should be grateful we even let you serve us." Her hands trembled. For a moment, she thought of just walking away, pretending none of it happened. But then she remembered the looks from the other staff, the way they had avoided him for years. The fear that kept them silent. She realized something. If she didn't stand up now, nothing would change. Not for her, not for anyone who came after her. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears, and turned back toward him. And in that moment, every pair of eyes in the room followed her. Maya stopped just short of his table. Her hands no longer trembled. The noise of the restaurant had faded into a dull, suffocating silence. Every customer, every waiter, every set of eyes was fixed on her. He looked up slowly, that same smug grin on his face, as if daring her to say something. "Is there a problem?" he asked, his tone dripping with false innocence. Her voice was steady, but it carried the weight of years she hadn't even lived through, years of people like him cutting people like her down. "The problem," she said, "is that you think your money gives you the right to treat people like they're less than human." A faint gasp rippled through the room. His grin faltered for the first time. But then, with a mocking chuckle, he leaned forward. "Careful," he whispered loud enough for all to hear. "People like you should know when to keep their heads down." The words hit like a slap, but Maya didn't flinch. She could feel the heat rising in her chest, not just from anger, but from something bigger, a refusal to shrink any further. "Maybe that's the difference between you and me," she replied. "You hide behind your power. I stand on my dignity." The silence was deafening. Someone in the back dropped a fork. Outside, a siren wailed faintly in the distance. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then he leaned back, his expression shifting, anger, disbelief, and something else, uncertainty. It was the first crack in the armor he'd worn for years. And Maya knew, with every eye in that room watching, that this was the moment that would either shatter her, or change everything. The man didn't say another word. He reached for his wallet, tossed a few bills on the table, and walked out without looking back. The door swung shut, and the tension in the room seemed to break all at once. But Maya didn't feel victorious. She felt the weight of what had just happened settle in her chest. She knew he would be back someday, maybe with sharper words, maybe with something worse. She also knew that for many others, in countless places, the ending wasn't this quiet. As the night wore on, a few customers came up to her, quietly, cautiously, to say they'd always wanted to say something, but never dared. The other waiters avoided her eyes, maybe ashamed, maybe still afraid. Walking home under the cold streetlights, Maya thought about all the moments like this she had never seen but knew existed, moments when someone was belittled, dismissed, or broken down simply for who they were. Tonight, she hadn't ended racism. She hadn't dismantled the power he wielded. But she had refused to be silent, and that refusal was its own kind of victory. Because silence protects the powerful. And speaking up, even when your voice shakes, can break the cycle. This wasn't just her story. It was the story of millions who have been told, directly or indirectly, to know their place. The question is, how many more people will have to stand alone before the rest of us finally stand with them?